Apparently, there's a way to measure the sun. It's a UV index.
Sup, pussies?
You know that? It's 7 right now. Where I come from, it's 1 out of 10, but apparently the rest of the world uses 1 out of 20.
Should our intro be sup, pussies?
You call that a pussy, you fat skank?
You call that a pussy, you fat skank?
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, because it's very offensive to say it. Say the word.
Jews. It's very offensive to
We're doing
big black Jews. Pussies. Big black Jews with pussies. Pussy. You know what's really funny?
Yeah.
Say pussy.
Pussy.
Now replace the 2 S's with a T and an H.
Pussy. That's a lisp. We
That's a
figured
lisp.
it out. Lisps are funny unless they're sincere, and then apparently you can't laugh at a lisp that
Sup, pussy?
is an issue. Have you seen The King's Speech?
No.
It's a very good and serious movie. You probably wouldn't like it.
So not
It's about the king. He assumes kingship
of England? Kingdom.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But he has a speech impediment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he can't read speeches and then present them without stuttering. And it's a really good movie. But the comedy's not lost on me.
Sounds like propaganda.
And that's where do you want like a little we'll talk about it later. Like a bell for propaganda propeller?
Oi.
Or propeller, yeah.
It's just probably like a button on the soundboard. That's like the sound of like a plane or something. What about what's that thing that I think Jeff Dunham does it with the ventriloquist?
Mm-hmm. Jalapeno on a stick.
Yeah. Like something like that. Yeah, that's whatever. We'll figure it out. Is that
What happened to Big Square?
what is that? Is that
Where's Big Square?
Oh, that's the pillow.
That's you. Oh my
no,
God.
I thought that was me. I was about to be like,
I thought
"Holy shit."
I thought this whole thing was you.
Yeah, most of that's me. I thought I was leaking. I was like, holy hell.
Do you want me to hold this? Sorry.
A little lower. Let's head south. Just send that soldier south. I saw that and I was like, is that surely that's
Do it to
not me.
Don't touch me.
Just taking my orders, Captain. Just taking my orders.
Who am I? Follow orders.
You?
No, I'm from the chick from The Last of Us, which apparently is the best show ever, but it has underlying tones of Al Gore and... Do you remember that movie that Al Gore made?
No.
It was called... it was 2008. Coincidence?
I think snot.
Not.
Did you say not or snot?
I said not.
Tonight, I'll be a snotty boy.
No, but Al Gore had a movie that was about global warming. I think it was called... Might have been Global Warming. But
There's a bug.
last...
Where you get the bug on the wall?
The Last of Us?
How'd you know? Did you see it?
It's not my... No. It's not my first... Stop. You don't have to have a wet finger all the time.
Really? Shit.
Can you imagine if that was your thing? It's like...
Hey, you're that guy that brags about weird shit. No, I take the longest showers. I'm the guy that takes the longest showers in the city. No, I'm the guy with the
I know
wet
someone
finger.
way worse at it than that. I dated a movie star.
How's life?
No, you didn't.
How's life?
Can you imagine if I did? It's all right. I got no complaints. Chilling with my bud. Could it be better?
Yes.
Probably not.
No, I can tell by looking at you.
No.
You could not be wearing a dark flannel.
Okay. 4 hours ago, you wore a dark flannel.
Are
It
those
was
gray
in.
pants?
Yeah.
Are you a gray pant guy? Are you the gray man?
I also brought blue jeans.
Drop the R, then probably.
Gay man.
Heyo.
When?
Never.
Okay.
Recently.
Yeah, I believe that.
Forever.
Yeah. When did you start wearing white shoes? Because they're in out here. I can tell. San Diego, 2023. It's in. Like,
Oh, it's been less than 6 months.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I've got white shoes and I've got black shoes. My black shoes are my work shoes because I
So
can't.
white shoes say you're casual and non-judgmental, and you're just chill.
No,
Like anybody who's around you can just feel free to be themselves
No.
because you don't judge.
these shoes just mean to me that like I'm walking, but I'm not at work. That's what they represent.
So
They're
like
the
if there's
opposite of my work shoes because I have to wear black work shoes because I sit down in like super dirty environments, and if I wear any color, like I've had gray work shoes, blue work shoes, white
it
work
just gets
shoes,
filthy.
they get filthy immediately. So then I'm the guy showing up to fix your refrigerator with stains all over his shoes. I look like a
it's not good.
saggy piece of So I wear black shoes to work, and I chose white shoes to be the antithesis
It's a lot of S's and it's borderline lispy.
of work shoes.
Antithesis.
So these are my and I don't know. I like. I'm making a conscious, or in recent months, I've made a conscious decision to try to wear less black, because I just wear I got most of my gym shorts, black gym pants, black, just pants in general, like my work pants, whatever, black, work shorts, black, work shirts, black. I wear a lot of black, and it's like black shirts matter, but
No, they don't.
I was just trying to spice it up a little
Black
bit.
shirts do matter. I've got one underneath this actually, just so black.
Oh gosh, thank
It
God.
matters.
I thought you might have been a racist.
It's soaking up some of the sweat under the white shirt that I'm wearing, which matters more. In my scenario.
Oh, brother.
Do you wear white shirts? You don't because you spill.
I do spill a lot.
Yeah. So what?
I wear white shirts.
You're only wearing this color because you're just chilling. You're just having a drink, chilling out. But
It's
you
a
wouldn't
chill color.
you wouldn't wear that if you're gonna go out to the gym, right?
Sure, I would. Yeah, I've wore this at the gym. It's a sweatshirt. So, I wear it to sweat
Would you wear it to
and to shirt.
breakfast?
Totally. I would wear
and if you
this.
spill
I would-
mustard or Benedict eggs on your sweatshirt.
I would make a conscious effort not to if I wore this out to brunch.
But doesn't that feel limited? I want to be able to spill shit and have zero consequence. That's why I wear black.
I have black clothes with very obvious stains on them.
You need to hang those black clothes out somewhere where they can be washed and properly dried.
Should I also burn a cross in their front yard?
No, you should
So I should just hang them.
hang them out where they can be dried.
You got fucking
And
issues,
wash.
dog. You got fucking issues.
What's wrong with saying hang
Would you
something
Would
black?
you let your daughter wear black clothes?
I don't have a daughter.
But if you did, would you let her wear black?
I don't have a. Do you have a girlfriend? I just know someone who'd be really pissed if I said that. Yeah. Would I let your daughter wear my black clothes? Yeah. I would if it was cold and it was.
We're going to a
desperate.
commercial break.
It's like, okay, these are Josh's prosthetic teeth.
All right, we're back. Josh is
I
wearing
love.
sunglasses because he's got 2 black eyes now.
I told him twice.
Ain't nobody gonna tell me that my daughter's wearing black clothes. Mm-mm.
She wears very
I'll be real with you,
Cute-
Dad. If you're
cute-
listening to this, I
cute.
apologize.
cute clothes.
I dated a black girl when I was younger, and my dad tried to convince me it was a sin. I'm not gonna tell you which
Really?
dad. I got 2 dads. They're both gay. Yeah, like turn to the
What'd
Old
you say?
Testament. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're
I
interpreting
was like,
that
I
scripture
feel
wrong.
like you haven't felt what I felt.
It's like, yeah, she might be black, but it's all pink on the inside. No, I did not say that. Let's edit that out.
Yeah. I can see current members of your family not being okay with that
All
statement.
right, we're concluding this. That's just a trope. It's a funny trope.
Not
I don't
only
even
is that
know
immature,
what it means.
it's
I
it's
don't even know
fictional.
what it means.
That's not what you feel, right? You don't feel that.
Yeah.
We're all black on the inside because it's dark.
What's dark?
Us.
You're dark on the inside because you got issues.
Well, but you're saying emotion. You're talking about emotional landscapes. I'm talking about physically. Like if I split you open with an axe, well, it'd be light, obviously, when I split you open. But like if I don't, in theory, I just leave you closed.
Fuck you, Dad.
You're welcome for leaving you closed. Okay, I'm just if I leave you closed, you're dark on the inside. You're shadowy,
Thanks, bro.
spooky.
I'm a spook. Not like the word. That's the CIA. That's what they call CIA agents. They're spooks.
What else do they call that?
Is that a racial term?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for what it's worth, I didn't mean it racially. Spooks is a term frequently used to refer to CIA agents.
Sure. Or even like narcs, right? It's like it's
That's
a spook.
more FBI or DEA. But yeah, no.
DEA like Walter Cronkite. No. Nope, not Walter Cronkite.
He was a journalist, but sure.
Who's the guy from Batman?
From what?
Batman? The DEA major guy.
Gordon.
Gordon Ramsay. Gordon
Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen.
I
Bro.
know.
And
he had like seven.
Jim Gordon? No, something.
Jim Gordon. Yeah.
No.
I think it's Jim.
Jeff Gordon.
24. No. No.
Yeah. We'll call him.
I think it's Jim. Jim Gordon.
Okay. That sounds.
It sounds right.
Familiar.
James doesn't sound right, but Jim does.
Probably Jim. Yeah. Spooks. No, I don't think. I think so. Spooks is a racial term. I'm not familiar with it. I've only heard spooks in the
like undercover.
It's just like specifically CIA agents. It's like that's a term used to describe someone working for the CIA, like a special agent working for the CIA, not FBI, not DEA, not Department of Homeland Security, not the NSA. It's like
why spook though? What is spook? Like if I scare you, if I go, ooh, you're spooky.
I think it's like a
because they're undercover. They're kind of
it's like
shadowy,
spectral. You know, it's like there's someone who like
what
they're because who's that? So Call of Duty. Name characters from Call of Duty. Name one.
I can't.
There's one. I'm gonna name him, and you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, no shit."
I'm sure.
Ghost.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No shit.
Why is he called Ghost?
Because he's a spook. He's not. He's white.
You're going to. Yo, give me your get out of jail free card. Because before I can
you like that? Because that in a court of law, I can defend that shit. He was a spook because he was CIA, was he not?
I don't know what he was, but what I'm saying is he was like a special ops agent in this video game, whatever.
Yeah, he's got the mask and the shit.
He's an operator, whatever.
Yeah,
he's operating. Ghost, specter, spook, like these are all terms. There's a James Bond movie called Spectral or something like
right.
Maybe James Bond's on the spectrum. I don't know. It's something.
He is, and the new James Bond is a female
spook.
No, she's African American.
Is that really a racial term?
Yeah, spook? It really is. Yeah.
Fuck, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's not good. But I don't think I bet you there's a whole generation of people that don't know that term.
Urban
Dictionary.
Dick. Shin.
Do you think Urban Dicks
Dairy. Spook. Okay. What? Oh gosh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I see it.
It's not good, yeah.
So if you go to Urban Dictionary, spook, the first definition is a spy or CIA agent The second definition is what racists used to call black people.
Yeah, it's like a derogatory term
Mm.
towards black people.
I didn't mean it, guys.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it. For what it's worth, we've worked with some spooks in both senses of the word. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We both used to have clearances. We worked with CIA agents. Did you ever do a polygraph?
I did.
The person who
I did it.
conducted your polygraph was a spook.
Yeah.
A special or a special agent for the CIA.
Yeah, yeah. I did a life poly.
For what? In the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
What'd they ask you?
Like,
is that different from the poly that I did?
I don't know, because I failed. I was inconsistent on my first poly.
You failed a polygraph?
No, I was inconsistent. I was inconsistent.
Yeah, I was inconsistent as a husband in my first marriage.
No, you're inconsistent by holding your bowel movements. Wait.
Those are super consistent. 4 times a day.
That's
every 4 hours.
Unhealthy. That's unhealthy. Yeah, I was inconsistent, and then they upped it up. They ramped it up. So I did a life poly after. And so, did you have to
questions like, have you ever urinated in public?
Yes.
They asked you that?
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
Yeah. And did you sit on the thing? It's a paddle. Did you sit on the paddle?
Okay. Y'all heard that, right?
Fuck you.
Did you sit on the thing?
The paddle.
A paddle.
It goes under your leg, under your thigh.
Did it have a thumb?
Inside your ass.
Did the paddle have a thumb?
A homosexual, like
a
you like it.
Paddle.
I didn't ask you, hey Mark, do you want to be stimulated from your? I didn't. That's not what I asked. I said, did you sit on the paddle?
I don't remember sitting on something.
Okay, so I sat on a paddle.
With a thumb?
No, on my finger there was a heartbeat monitor.
I had that.
It was.
I had that.
Yeah. And then they record you, and then they ask you questions like.
There were other sensors on you too, right?
There was, but I can't. There was like maybe like a.
When I did it, there were like a dozen different like sensors on me.
I didn't have a dozen, but I had like 4 or 5. And one of them, like
I may have had 4 or 5 now that you mention it.
One of them like sensed how much you move during a question or something. Like if you like resituate yourself, like was your dad part of the militia in whatever state you're from? And you're like, well,
maybe. Well, I don't know who my dad is.
We've got 4 gas masks and a couple ARs, and we were thinking about going to the Capitol.
We've got 4 dads.
But like, they ask you that kind of shit, and then they'll ask you, like, the one that interviewed me after I was inconsistent, she's like, do you like the color of my eyes? So they hit you with something, and then they hit you with like, do you find me sexually attractive? And you're like, what? Wait.
Yes.
Yeah, like, yeah, I said yes. I was like, yeah, I like them a lot. And then I passed. And then it's like, now I have national secrets at my disposal, and it's not good. It's not.
I had so there's whenever I went in for my normal polygraph for people who aren't trading American secrets.
I'm a little
to
sketchy. I was sketchy before the Marine Corps, and so I think that's why I got inconsistent, because I like some of my answers were a little bit vague.
So in my first my first and only polygraph test, it's broken up into 2 or 3 different parts. I can't remember. I think it's 2. I think there's a part 1, then a break, then a part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And part 1, they asked me all these questions, and I answer them to the best of my ability. And if you're listening to this and you're interested in passing a polygraph, the key, I think, is
right?
If they ask you a question, don't try to come up with the answer for the question. Try to come up with the answer you think they want for the question. So if they're like, have you ever been in a situation where you've divulged national security information to a potential foreign party? Don't be like, oh, fuck, that one time at the bar, that guy, I'm pretty sure he was Russian.
Absolutely not.
Just be like,
I would never do that.
Just think to yourself every single question, like, what is the answer they obviously want? No. They just want no. They just want, okay. So I'm going to say no, right? Don't move too much. Just be like, just think to yourself, no.
Keep your heart rate low.
No. Breathe in.
But there's also something to be said, and I'm hijacking this. I'm sorry.
Don't. I'm going to cut you off. Don't
okay.
hijack me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You letting me hijack this?
So in the
Okay.
first,
No. So
in
but you
part
can
one,
also fuck with the baseline because like
that's what I did in
if
the
I
second
ask you
one.
like
I
think
would
of the
tell you
color
if you didn't
blue.
hijack me.
Think of the color blue.
I've been
What color are
hijacked.
you thinking of? And you go you like mix it in your mind. You go like green, yellow, green, red, red. I'm thinking of blue, and it like it changes the baseline of how you are
So here's
when
what I
you're answering
did.
that question.
In the first half of the polygraph, I just took everything super seriously, answered all the questions. In the second half of the polygraph, in between every question, in my mind,
You
I
think
s-
opposite.
no, in my mind, I sang the theme song to the Prince of Bel-Air, and it showed up
Mm-hmm.
like after that. When we concluded that polygraph, I tested, and she said, "But your baseline for this portion of the test was very different from your baseline for the first portion of the test." So
Mm.
whatever's going on there, because I would be like, "West Philadelphia, born and raised," and then she would be like, "Do you have any um
They'll
do
ask
you
you,
have
do you have
any
a
fin
weapon on you?
do you have any
They'll be like, do you have a
financial
weapon on you?
interest in foreign affairs or a foreign bank system?" And I'd be like, "No. On the playground is where I spent most of my days." Like in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. Like I would say no, and then I would go back to singing. And apparently, I'm assuming because she said that there was something different, I'm assuming it was that. But it's like, what the fuck are these polygraphs? They
Yeah,
ain't shit.
but they kind of are.
They
They kind of
definitely
are because if you think about it, think if you were if you were someone who had foreign interest or foreign influence, you were open to that, and trying to get a top secret clearance in the United States Marine Corps, or federally, you're trying to get a top secret clearance. I don't think you'd pass
here's the thing.
unless you're Bill Clinton.
I don't know if there's any validity to this, but I've had someone tell me this since then, and it makes way more sense. The whole point of the polygraph is not like the
They want to
lines.
see you fail.
No, it's not the lines that show up on the polygraph test. The whole point of it is to put you in a room with a
To
trained,
realize it's serious.
no, to put you in a room with somebody who's trained on like physical cues, body language, like trying to like pinpoint. It's like whatever. They're trained to identify someone who's lying. And it's like they don't even supposedly like they could care less about what the polygraph machine is telling them. They're trying. This is someone who's just trying to read your body language and figure out if you're throwing any red flags.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true. That's what I've heard, and I can't even tell you where I heard it. So it's probably true.
Because they ask you like if you smoked weed, right? And at this point,
Hmm.
that's like a red herring because to get into the Marine Corps, you have to have already processed that information. There's like waivers for I smoked weed a couple times when I was in high school, and like, but they're asking you that after the fact, and they know it. They know that you've already divulged or not divulged what drug use history you have.
Boy,
And I heard so I think Pena, won't say the first name because I don't know the first name.
Juliana.
No,
It was Julie. It was
it
something
was
Julie.
Camille.
It was Camille.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Camille.
Anyway, um,
Juliana Pena is a UFC fighter.
yeah. I think she was the one that told me that.
You should lose weight. That's a pot calling the kettle a pot.
I think she was the one that said if you're because there you have a certain. I don't know. I had an inconsistent baseline. Had to go back, and then I took a poly or a life poly. But I think if you fail a polygraph, you have to go back, and I think there's a number of times, whatever. But at a certain point, you are like you're considered.
On the spectrum?
No, I can't remember the word.
Security violator. Conscientious objector.
No,
Gay.
no. We had one of those.
Yeah. What was her name? Blonde girl.
Yeah, and she was lesbian. not relationships, not correlated.
All the
I can't
best
remember what the word.
conscientious
Whatever.
objectors are.
Would you conscientiously object?
To World War III? Yes.
Not me.
So
I
here's the
say bring
thing.
it.
I would say we were
You
conscientious
won't do it.
objectors, and too much of pussies to act on our conscientious objections.
I don't think that's true. I think we did our job.
We did our job
Yeah,
for sure.
you got to
But
do your job. It's
in
like,
hindsight, like, I'm pretty sure the only reason America was involved with any of the conflicts going on in the Middle East were like, I don't think we're trying to liberate, like, our country's trying to liberate people from terrorist organizations in the Middle East. I think there's.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either.
So, to some extent, I'm absolutely, probably more aligned with a conscientious objector than a, like, devil dog doing whatever he's commanded to do. But in practicality, I was a devil dog and I did what I was told to do
Mm-hmm.
when we were deployed. So, it's like,
But you can only act on what you can see, right? In a sense.
sure.
So it's like, if you're 18,
Most of my understanding of, like, the corrupt history of America and its coups and its involvement with
after the fact,
was after the Marine Corps.
right?
It's like I didn't realize that, we have a fucking 100-year-long history of going into second and third world countries and
Leveling a
toppling
country
regimes
and rebuilding
regimes
it
and
so it's to our benefit.
supplying militias with it's just installing our own pro-democratic powers in whatever country we see fit. It's like I was not aware of that when I signed up or when we were actively deployed to the Middle East. And it's like,
But then, when you look back, right? Because at the time you're acting on only the information you have. So it's like, this is what I know. This is what I'm going to act on. I'm going to do my best.
sure.
Do you think that's honorable?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an honorable thing to do.
And I'm not saying that, like, I'm an honorable person or I deserve any
But
sense
the
of honor.
role
I'm
that you
just saying that
played-
in general, as a human being, if you receive information and you try to act the best way that you can concerning the information that's available to you, it's like that's the most honorable way to act.
But even though later on you may learn things that
And that's going to prevent you
smudge.
from acting on that previous information going forward. So it's like I've been given bad information that I think is the truth, and I'm going to act on it as if it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But then the future rolls around, and it's like, hey, that information that you previously thought was true is actually false. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to act on that information as if it were true going forward from this point on. It's like that's.
Yeah, so you correct your course. You're like, yeah.
You're welcome for my service.
I appreciate your
I'll take a
service.
10% discount at your
I've never
McDonald's.
shaken. This is not true. Can I shake a veteran's hand? I've shaken a lot of fucking veterans' hands.
Bunch of fucking pogues.
Yeah, I jacked off a veteran one time. It was me.
What was her name? That's.
You can't say that. That's
Can I clip that and forward it to 1K
that would be the line that we should have on the thing.
I jacked off a veteran once. It was me. You've done it more than once, buddy.
More than once, for sure.
This is some hairy palms.
I got away with some wicked shit, man.
What, jacking off shit?
No.
You were jacking
Like, I
off
was
on
stealing
deployment?
2 MREs a day. From that pallet out in the hot
Just
sun.
hear me out. We're
The
talking
UV
about you.
was like
we're
14.
talking about you jacking off veterans, and then you say
No,
on
I've jacked
deployment,
off a veteran.
Then on deployment, I got away with some wicked shit. How many?
My sleeves are rolled up to my fucking cankles.
Surely satisfied veterans are there in Al Assad right now? 4
At least
by your hands.
you twist my words.
The champ.
That's what they called me, yeah. He could be dehydrated and still keep going.
What'd you get away with in Al Assad? Because I got away with murder in Baghdad.
So, like, there was a point in time where when I was working I was working nights. So I was working we switched from, for some reason, we wanted to have like a sunset split, sunset to sunrise. So I was working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And we did that for like maybe a month and a half. Minger, if you're watching, reach out, mention me, call me I nared your
Pussy.
back. I
Call
put
him a
nair on
pussy.
your back and pulled it off so your wife didn't think you're a scumbag. Anyway, I was working from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I didn't see the light of day while working for probably a month and a half. And during that time, I grew a beard. I didn't give a fuck. I was like, I'm growing my shit out. Then it turns out one day I had to take a piss when it was light out. Ooh,
Did you get
I
lit
got
up?
fucked up by this.
Did you really?
Yeah, this mass sergeant from he was like part of the grunt unit that was down the hill, like
He's just there for the ribbons.
it was 1-7. Yeah, we were attached to 1-7.
And like the 1 year 7.
And he fucked me up. He's like, "Hey, Maroon,
Bro,
hey, come." There was fucking IDF, like 30 minutes before, like 400 meters away. IDF.
you think that's retarded?
I think it's retarded. Yeah.
Listen to this.
And, no, but hang on.
No, let me cut you off.
No, don't.
Everything I have to
Resist.
say is better than everything.
He straight up laced me down like parade rest while I was getting chow for Minger and the other two. I don't know their names.
It's always the chow.
Yeah, but I was going to chow. I had my flak jacket on. I had my helmet. I was conditioned for with a mag in because that's legal, and I was going to get chow for my Marines.
Staff NCOs live in
And
the
he
chow hall.
stopped me to fucking correct my shave, and my sleeves were rolled up. And I was like, I literally, it's the only time, and I'll be honest with you, it's the only time where I made full circle to
I
the
should
only
shoot this Marine.
no, not just shoot. Not just shoot. I was like, I want to drink his blood so that I can reconfigure the bullshit that's running through his veins. Like I will consume his blood and then it'll be me. And then I'll do better with his blood than he will.
No,
That actually ran through my mind.
You'd just
It's
be
fucked
full
up.
of bullshit afterwards.
Probably.
His blood would reconfigure
I'm full of
you.
bullshit now. But yeah, that actually ran through my mind. And it was because of that. It was because it was during deployment, halfway through deployment, shit was not going well, and this grown man is stopping me for having stubble on my face.
It's always the chow hall. Like I think,
Yeah, the chow. Hey, Marine.
I think at
Hey,
least
Devil Dog, can we get some more Apple Jacks?
So if you could plot every time a staff NCO reprimanded me for something, I'd say 60% of the time, at least
It's in the chow hall.
60%, it's in the chow hall.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, we're
Standing in line with your hands in your pockets.
first sergeants,
Hey, Marine, go get a
master
haircut.
sergeants, gunnery sergeants, like sergeant majors. They just live in the chow hall. Apparently, wait, let me see. Okay, so when I was in Baghdad, I had the privilege of working undercover.
You a spook?
The spook. So I didn't have to wear my Marine Corps camis for the vast majority of the time I was there because we were working.
Probably got a shower every day.
Showered every day. It was the best. I had basically a dorm room
Gross.
that I shared with Colin. Remind me of the meditation thing after
I'll remind you.
I give you my spiel. So I'm working undercover in the Baghdad embassy in Iraq, and the first sergeant of the grunt platoon that's stationed, I forget who it was. Maybe it's maybe it's the same. I
think it was
fucking know.
1-7, yeah.
I don't fucking know. Bunch of idiots. No offense, guys. You're all retarded.
What's your home address?
So I'm working undercover because the letter agency that we're working with doesn't want it known that there's Marines working with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wearing civilian clothes, and then when I go to the chow hall, the first sergeant sees me, and he knows that like it's been cleared, and it's like coming from above him that I am working undercover. But he catches me in the chow hall in civilian attire and says, when you're not on shift, you need to be in camis. And it's like, you fucking moron. It's like all of the people who see me in this embassy when I'm in camis are the same people who are gonna see me when I'm in
It
civilian
makes no
attire.
operational sense,
It's
right?
so
Yeah.
fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's like
But he was hanging on to
literally,
the Marine Corps.
literally a retard.
But he was hanging on to, hey, Marine, that's not good to go. That's
Yes.
what he was hanging on to because he learned that in garrison, right?
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine being that stupid?
You know what that reminds me of? Very similar. In the airport, right when I flew here, I saw a couple people in camis. It's like that's the dumbest. That's the only. That's one of the few things I give the Marine Corps is not letting you wear camis in public.
Yeah,
You
I'm a
you
fan.
talk about skylining yourself. It's like if there was any mother, if I was a terrorist and I was going
Or
to take out any fucking person in this airport, it would be the person wearing camis.
or if I was a Russian mail order
Yeah,
bride
it's
and I
like,
were gonna attach myself to the waist to anyone in this
yep,
airport,
yep,
it'd be the guy in the
yeah.
camis.
It's so dumb to wear camis. Like it's unnecessary.
The meditation thing.
Yep, you reminded yourself. You're so self conscious. You been
so
meditating?
so I read Siddhartha for the first time when I was in Kuwait.
Hmm.
And me reading Siddhartha kicked off what would eventually lead to me becoming what I consider self-actualized. I'm self-actualized. Are you
Is that a
self-actualized?
Fabletics shirt?
So,
Consumer. You're saying
self-actualization.
consumer wrong.
I don't know what Webster or Urban Dictionary have to say about self-actualization, but at that point in my life, up until reading that book, I had never stopped to take a moment to consider who I was in the past, who I was in the present, and who I have the potential to be in the future. I just never stopped to consider my history, my current state, and my potential future states. And I'm not saying that that's the definition of self actualization, but I think if you come to that point in your life, if that's not well, actually, you know what? If that's not self actualization, I don't know what is. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
we're in Kuwait. I read Siddhartha. And then I go, on a bit of a rabbit hole. I wind up, because Siddhartha, the book written by, I think, Herman Hesse, is pretty loosely based on the life of the Buddha,
Hmm.
whose
The
name,
first Buddha.
whose name in actuality, I think, was Siddhartha Gautama, if I
Hmm.
remember correctly. And so I read that, and then I read a lot of other sort of Eastern spiritual books. And I came to eventually The Prophet by Khalil Gibran,
Hmm.
which is to date, outside of, you know, scripture, that's my favorite book. And it's technically a poem, but it's one of those poems that's like super fucking long. It's basically a short book. It's like a
Hmm.
60-page book or something. Um, so I read Siddhartha, read a bunch of other books on that were a lot of them pretty much associated with Eastern mysticism, a lot of Buddhism, a lot of Hinduism, a lot of other sort of like niche Oriental and Middle Eastern sort of spin offs of traditional spirituality in the Eastern sense of the term. And then I read The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And then I sort of came to a conclusion that of all that I've read to that point in life, it seemed like of the major religions being Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, the one that seemed to strike a chord with me or hold the most value, seem the most realistic and powerful. It was like I kept coming back to Christianity. So then I dove into scripture, Old Testament, New Testament, prayer, fasting, meditation. And one day I'm sitting in my room in the embassy where it was the room we were in. It's kind of like a dorm room, and Colin McNabb and we shared a room, and Colin was out in like the sort of foyer area, like outside of our dorm room essentially, and doing whatever, and I was in our room, and it was I also work the night shift. Like I wanted to work the night shift, so because you were
You
working the
avoid
night shift,
bullshit.
I,
Oh, we
I
could chat too. We
we could
chatted.
chat.
Yeah,
We
yeah. I
chatted all
forgot
the
about
time.
that. Yeah, yeah.
That's the reason why, like,
On that little, yeah, I
yeah,
remember
it's
that.
like the night shift was like kind of shitty
Mm-hmm.
because it's the opposite of like what you're used to working. I wanted to work the night shift because you were working the night shift, and it meant that we could keep in communication with each other. So when I'm back in my room trying to sleep, it's the middle of the day, right? So I'm sitting in this room and it's broad daylight, and we've got like a window with like no curtain or whatever, so it's bright as hell in the room. And I'm meditating. And but it's so bright that it's like even when I close my eyes, it's like broad daylight.
Mm-hmm.
So I take a blanket off of my bed and I throw the blanket over my body and I sit there and I meditate under the blanket. And then Colin comes into the room and he's being loud as fuck.
How's deployment going, bro?
Colin comes into the room and he's
Thinks you're
being loud
jacking
as
off or
fuck.
something.
And I just ripped the blanket off of my head. I'm like, hey, fuck face, I'm trying to meditate here. It's just like, he's like, I'm sorry, bro. And like, he leaves the room, closes the door. I put the blanket back over me. And I'm like, well, this fucking meditation's soiled.
You just fucked up my inner peace, bro.
I was straight up like, I was so pissed because I was trying so hard to get into the fucking zone. And it was bright as hell. It was hot as 130 degrees
And
every
he just
day.
comes in
It's
doing
like,
Colin stuff.
and you know how Colin
He's a
is.
super nice guy.
I love Colin.
Yeah,
I
super
would,
nice guy.
I would.
Just
I would
let it be as he's a nice guy. Don't even say whatever you're about to say.
I
Don't even
would
say it.
have
There we
died for
go.
Colin before I had a wife and a daughter, but I got more to live for, bro. Sorry. I love Colin to death. He holds a special place in my heart because of that deployment.
Sure.
It's like
Same thing with Minger. I feel the same about Jocelyn. Because it's
I
like we
bet.
spent so much time, I got a lisp, so much time together, and in various, very serious, multiple contexts. Right?
Bless Colin's heart because he was my team leader when it was just the two of
Mark,
us.
what should we do?
He was my team leader when it was just the two of us stationed in Baghdad. Like there were no other Marines from our deployment there.
Hmm.
There were infantry Marines, but they were not as. It was just me and Colin.
And no one really knows what the hell you do.
No one.
Yeah. As
No one.
intel, you just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, we just doing our thing. And I would be on that deployment was when I discovered Diablo. And so like I would be playing Diablo 3 in our like bro, first off, I went to a bazaar in like downtown Baghdad and bought this gaming laptop and like all of the buttons on the laptop were like Arabic. It's like the operating system was Arabic. It took me days to like get this thing converted to English, but eventually I get it converted to English. And I'm playing Diablo 3 on it in my free time when I'm not working out or tanning or eating the Krispy Kreme donuts that are at the Baghdad embassy for whatever reason.
Gross. Now I know.
Yeah. And anyways, like so Colin would come back and basically if he was off shift, it meant I was on shift. But he would come back and his shift would be over and he would basically tag me in and I would just continue to play Diablo for a couple of hours in our room until it was time for you to come on to your shift and then I would go in and like chat with you all night long. And then go back in the morning and we'll like work out or eat fucking brunch and mimosas or whatever.
That's wild.
No mimosas, I'm
Right.
kidding.
Yeah.
But
Brunch.
yeah, well the cafeteria at the embassy is
They
open
always
20
serve,
I
yeah.
think it was open 24/7.
That's so different, man. Like, and I know we've talked about this,
It was
but
super
my
different.
my experience, Al Assad in 2015, 2016, no Diablo 3. Like, I played Splinter Cell on my laptop outside of the skiff. But yeah, that's so different.
It was
That's
different.
so
No.
yeah. But that
I
makes
know.
sense now because I remember you getting online and I would wait. I was looking forward to talking to you because we had that like sipper channel
Mm-hmm.
and it was like Steve,
Don't even
and
ask
then
me about the shit that I found out about the Hillary Clinton's kill list on those classified networks. It's like there's some shit on there that's
yeah,
not meant to be talked about in a podcast.
yeah, um, yeah, I forgot about that. And then we switched or something because we switched to day shift at some point. And then during the last bit of the deployment, you went back. You were on the first.
Yeah,
You were like a week or something early,
I came home before you, but
like 1 week
my
early.
deployment was like
It was the same as mine.
yeah,
Same
but
same
it
time.
was like a 7 month long deployment. I
Mm-hmm.
spent the first 2 months in Kuwait doing trap missions, and then the remaining 5 months at the embassy in Baghdad. And then at the end of it, I flew back to Kuwait, but I was probably there for a couple of days before flying back to the States.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I got back to the States like a week before you or
Yeah.
something like
Well,
that.
you picked me up in the dart with like a handle of rum or something.
Probably.
Captain Morgan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was awesome.
you love Captain Morgan at that point in your life.
Yeah. Because like I think I went to Al Assad from Kuwait within the first week, first 5 days or
Yeah,
something.
it was
They're
immediate.
like dudes handing me ammo, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like,
Getting live rounds are going in, dude. Okay, cool.
life at Kuwait. What was that? Al Jaber.
Mm-hmm.
That was the name of the Air Force base
Super
there.
chill.
Well, it was chill for sure, but it was like so a normal day for me looked like so I was on that trap team.
That's not chill. Trap
Trap
sucks.
was not
Trap
chill.
sucks.
So trap stands for Tactical Recovery of Aircraft Personnel, if I remember correctly.
You're riding Ospreys and
Yep. So what that meant was we would go up in Osprey aircraft, which are, if you're not familiar, they're vertical takeoff helicopters
dual prop.
slash planes with two propellers. And so it takes off and the propellers are like this. They take off and then once they reach elevation, the propellers rotate and then it flies like a plane with twin props, essentially. And so we would take off in the Ospreys and we would fly from Kuwait to Syria. And then when we reached Syria, we would fly around in circles and we would wait for A-10 Warthogs to come through or F whatever jets to come through and drop bombs. And we were there in the airspace essentially. So if the jet or the aircraft got shot down, we would go and try to recover the pilot or any sort of sensitive information, and then we would fly back to Kuwait. So we would go out there before the airstrike, and we just sort of hover. The airstrike would happen, and then once the airstrike or the aircraft got out to safety, then we would follow them out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was so shitty because it's like 128 degrees in the desert each day in the summer. And you get in that Osprey, the back of the Osprey, and you start going up, and it's like, at least 10 to 20 degrees hotter, right? And the Ospreys have smaller fuel tanks. So if you're flying from Al Jaber in Kuwait to wherever the fuck in Syria, it's like you're in that Osprey for like 6 hours. It's like a 6 hour flight, and the Osprey probably has to refuel 2 or 3 times during the flight. And each time it has to refuel, they close up the bay door.
It's hot as hell.
It gets even hotter, and as it's starting to refuel, the cabin area sort of fills up with like these fuel fumes, and it's nauseous. So you're in this plane, this helicopter, this plane, whatever you want to call it, for 6 hours, and everyone, like, after you do it a few times, you start like consciously like dehydrating yourself to some extent before you go up, so that you're not like constantly having to like get down on your knees and piss in a Gatorade bottle in front of all of your peers, you know. So now you got a bunch of dehydrated Marines who are responsible for recovering, any pilots or black boxes or sensitive information that could potentially be shot down. And it's like, it's fucking lame as hell. But when we're not running trap missions, we're lifting weights, eating crap food, or playing video games. And that aspect of it was not that bad.
And when you're at the base, there's no direct threat,
No.
right? It was pretty minimal. It was like
Yeah, Al
minimal.
Jabber's like super safe.
Yeah, I remember coming back because we also spent like, I think we spent 4 or 5 days there, maybe four. I think 4 days. Came from Al Asad, Iraq, back to Kuwait, and I remember thinking, I was like, let a fucking Kuwaiti mess with me. Like I didn't care. Like it was like a joke. Like, and we had seen some like there was like sketchy people outside of base or whatever. Like, okay, I don't give a shit. Like at this point, I'm chilling. I'm trying to figure out how I can go get a burrito because I've had a burrito in 6.5 months. So I don't. Yeah,
When I
it was just a
was
very different feeling than Al Assad.
when I was at the embassy in Baghdad, the you you're not I'm not actually like it's not public knowledge, the agency that we were working with, the federal agency.
Probably don't say whatever acronym.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the agency that we were working with, there they had like a like that essentially in the embassy building, the primary building, they had no, not a whole floor. It's a big building, like a huge building, and they had like there's probably, if you think about like the entirety of a floor in that building, it could probably house like 100 workers, right? And maybe a third of one floor was allocated to this embassy or this agency,
Hmm.
and they had their own like it was like a kitchen where there was like a refrigerator, a microwave, sink, dishwasher. Yeah, it was a kitchen. It didn't have like a oven or stove, but it was a kitchen. And they had like wine, and occasionally there'd be like a beer in there. It's mostly wine, and then they had like a lot of O'Doul's and like
Yeah, we had O'Doul's. Yeah,
no alcohol, like
we were trying
alcohol
to
free
figure
beer.
out
How many you had to drink it?
Yeah, it's like 400 O'Doul's to even get a
Yeah,
buzz or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
There were that was a popular thing on Kuwait or in Al Jaber in Kuwait. There's a lot of people trying to see if they could, a lot of stupid grunts trying to see if they
drink as
could get
many as they possibly
drunk
can.
drinking O'Doul's.
Yeah,
Um,
there was a dude that drank him at the gym.
yeah,
He would take him and drink him at the gym just to see if he could.
that's funny.
Yeah,
But I would go in there and I would drink the agency's wine, like, because I go in the night and there's no one there but me.
yeah.
No one, like no one from the agency working at night. So I would just go into their like kitchen area, and I'd eat their donuts, their cookies, and drink their wine. It's like
Deployment, bitch.
everyone else was like stone cold sober. Cause like Colin couldn't get away with drinking their booze because when he was there working, so were they.
Because he was day shift.
Yeah, and the infantrymen, they were not like they didn't have access to that space.
Mhm.
It's a skiff, it's all classified.
So you got away with
A murder. I got
Yeah.
with fucking murder. When I was at the embassy, I was always either like meditating, praying,
or
fasting,
drinking.
playing video games, drinking booze, eating Krispy Kreme donuts, working out, swimming, doing yoga. It's like it's ridiculous. Now, with all that being said, it's like I was also in a helicopter that like took small arms fire, and I was at like there was a base outside of the embassy that I had to go to a few times. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was an army base, but I remember spending a couple nights there, and I'll never forget. This was like a pivotal moment in my life as a warrior and a man. I think I was at this base. I'm pretty sure it was an army base in Baghdad, but it was outside of the embassy, and there was a lot of like it was a lot of joint forces members there, a lot of Navy, Air Force, like there's a whole bunch of people from different countries,
Canadian,
Canadians, yep,
Aussies,
Aussies.
Italians. Yeah.
And we were sleeping. I was sleeping in a can. Like a can is like a huge
Little half dome.
tent.
It's like a half plate, but if you flip it upside down.
So, anyways, it looks
I'm
like
trying to relate to
it
skateboarders.
looks like a can that's been cut in half.
Damn it, that makes more sense.
So
Like a cranberry can.
it's a huge tent that can house like 25 to 50 people. Very common in all sorts of military exercises, practices, whatever. So, anyways, we're on this base outside of the embassy in Baghdad, and I'm here by myself. Like Colin's not there; it's just me, and there's all these other people that I don't know sleeping in this tent in the middle of the night. And we wake up in the middle of the night to small arms fire that's obviously going on in the distance. And this Navy guy, an older guy, like an adult, like at least 40 years old. I'm 22, 21, 22 at the time. And this guy is the Navy. He's probably like a chief petty officer or something. Might even be in like a officer and not enlisted. But he's making like everybody kind of wakes up to the small arms fire. But it's obviously like once you hear it and you wake up and you think about it, it's like it's obviously going on hundreds of yards away from us.
Mm-hmm.
This naval officer, I don't want to call him an officer. This guy in the Navy wakes up. This seaman,
A guy in the Navy.
sperm,
Yeah.
seaman.
So many chief petty officers does it take to fill the Grand Canyon?
He's freaking the fuck out, and he's a grown ass man, probably close to twice my age, at least 40. Grown ass man, and he's screaming. He's like, "Is that gunfire? Are we being shot at? Is that gun? Is that?" And I'm sitting there like cool as a cucumber, just like yeah.
It's like a few hundred yards away.
Obviously that's gunfire, and obviously we're not being shot at because there's a difference. You can hear there's phew, there's a sound of bullets flying past you, and then there's the sound that ting ting. There's bullets hitting near you.
And there's like the snap too.
Yeah, but there's a difference. There's a difference between
yeah. You
like
can hear the impacts when they're close.
right, and it's very obvious. So it's like obviously that's gunfire, and obviously whoever's shooting it, they're not shooting at us. So I literally, I wake up, I like observe the situation, and I literally like I see this guy freaking out, and there's some other people freaking out too and like panicking. And I just like make the conscious decision. It's like, okay, I need sleep. I need rest. I lay back down and I say to myself, like, if I'm needed, it's like it'll be obvious. It's like I've got my assault rifle like laying on the cot right next to me. It's like if we're being
they break into the door.
yeah. It's like if I'm needed, it'll be super obvious. It's like right now I'm not needed, and it's like I went to sleep and I got a good night's rest. And that guy probably stayed up all night just freaking the fuck out.
When's the next assault going to be? When is,
Yep. And it was just that was eye opening for me.
Sure.
Because the reality of the situation is like, I got nothing against the guy for being panicked. Because he was probably panicked because he wasn't properly trained for that situation. But.
And sometimes you can be properly trained and still panic.
Absolutely.
It's a personality thing. Some people just.
But the reality of the situation is like, you need to be rested either way, and it's like you're not in immediate danger, and it's like,
because if you don't rest,
yeah,
you take small arms fire tomorrow and they break in, then it's a fucking problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
and it's like you just need to block it out. I literally put in earplugs. Was like so confident that it's like I'm gonna put in earplugs. It's like because even with these earplugs in, if someone starts shooting near me,
you're
gonna hear it.
Yeah,
I was like I put in the earplugs because I didn't want to hear the small arms fire and I didn't want to hear this fucking sailor bitching about it. It's like
there was a similar effect with we took small arms fire a few different times. Um, Only one time was it like I could see the actual small arms fire. It was at us, like it was at the front gate, and it was in line with us, and you could hear the impacts, and it's like, okay, like this is real, you know. I didn't engage. I didn't discharge any rounds. Like I was still like tertiary. I was 3 or 4 layers back from, and they handled it. It was like a couple guys that were crazy, but the IDF thing, like in the indirect fire, when I remember, I have this like little snippet of a memory where when we took over for the previous guys, we showed up on deployment, we relieved the previous guys. They were super calm, and we were nervous as hell. It's like that was a fucking bomb.
Yeah.
Like that was a fucking bomb that just went off, like to kill us.
Yeah.
And that lasts for like a week or like 3-4 days, and pretty soon you're like, all right, like we took another 16 rounds of IDF. It's just some dude launching shit in your general direction 500 meters away. You're like, okay. And then all the buildings have HESCO barriers and you feel pretty safe. And you're like, unless one hits the roof of this building, I'm going to be okay. Like if it lands. And then I remember I have like that snippet that first week. And then at the end of deployment, when the new guys came to relieve us, we were the super calm ones. And they were freaking the fuck out. And I was like, yo, dude, don't spill your coffee. You're going to need your coffee. Come here. I'm going to show you what the fuck you got to pay attention to.
You think those missiles are a problem? No, not having coffee, that's a fucking problem.
Right. Like it like reprioritizes your, it's like, no, you're going to have to, and like I was a 2651, but half of my job there was helping linguists give information and track information for targets.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't actively target people, but just helping them keep track of what the hell conversation is going on, who said it, what. And by the end of it, it's like, yo, forget the IDF, pay attention to the fucking dialogue. Like, and then I didn't realize that about myself until like after we got back to the States. I'm like, holy shit, I was that like. You just have this real overwhelming realization that you became so used to the danger or whatever it was, and then you were prioritized to complete your task. And you prioritize that over anything else. And that's a trip. That is just such a weird feeling to experience.
This was a strange. So when I was at the embassy in Baghdad, there were probably 2 or 3 different situations where the IDF alarm went off, and like everybody would like sprint to cover, and I think maybe 2 of them were car bombs like outside of the embassy, and then the third one, who knows what the third one was, but there were, it was pretty rare. It's like I'm there for 5 months and there's only like 3 IDF alarms sounded the whole time. It's like super minimal. But the day that I flew into Baghdad, like I fly from Al Jaber to wherever in Baghdad, and then from that airport in Baghdad then I traveled via helicopter to somewhere, and then take a bus into the embassy. That helicopter ride, it's like I'm on that helicopter ride with a bunch of people I don't know. Because when I left Kuwait, and this was arguably the most uneasy thing about my entire deployment, is there were so many situations where I was all by myself. When I left Kuwait, no one left with me. Like I left Al Jaber and flew to Baghdad and didn't have like a single person from our company, our platoon. There were a lot of situations where it was like I was the only Marine. And that was uneasy because I like as a
Who do you
Marine.
ask where to go? You always have a battle buddy.
Yeah, it's
Always.
like as a Marine, it's like you know that whoever's next to you, they've been trained just like you and they've got your back. And everywhere I went, I was by myself until I got to the embassy, and then I had Colin, right? So, and I spent like probably it wasn't a lot. It was probably a total of like a week and a half between like my going to the embassy. At some point in time, I had to go out and do something outside of the embassy. It was just me, and then my flying from the embassy back to Kuwait. There's probably a week and a half total where it's like I'm just in this war torn third world country and I'm by myself. I don't have Colin. I don't have any other Marines. It's like just me and a bunch of randos.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flight in to Baghdad, after I've landed it, like I come in on, if I remember correctly, I think it was a C-130 that I flew out of Kuwait into Iraq in, and then I landed some base that I think was an army base, may have been an Air Force base, but I think it was an army base. And then we took a helicopter from there to somewhere, and it was like a Chinook sort of
Mm-hmm.
style helicopter. And then took a
It's like the double
bus.
prop,
Yeah.
but inline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we took a bus from like wherever to the embassy, if I remember correctly. That when I was in that Chinook helicopter for the first time, they do so. I'm in the
You go muzzle
helicopter.
down, right?
Yeah.
That was the weirdest part when we did the Osprey missions, and it was like muzzle down.
Yeah.
It's like what the fuck, like because you always put your muzzle up when you're in a 7-ton,
Sure.
or if you know, so it's like that was weird to me for the
So-
first time.
So
And then after a while, I'm like, right, and we got back to the U.S. and I was muzzled down everywhere, and people I were like, the gun was dirty, and people are like, what the fuck is it? I'm like, oh yeah, okay, like turn this bitch around, like
when I was in
weird.
that Chinook, we're flying, and we're flying over Baghdad, right? And the helicopter sends out flares, like it just shoots out its flares, and then someone who I coincidentally I think they were, if I remember correctly, they were also a sailor. It's like someone was like, "Are was that flares? Like, are we being shot at?" And then in the back of the
Just
ship,
put headphones in and go to sleep.
in the back of the Chinook, there's like somebody sitting on a gun with the bay door open, and they're sitting as probably like they're probably sitting on a mounted 240 Bravo or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember. And they turn back and they're like, "No, that's just it's routine. You know, every time we fly, we pop flares every time." And then there was a ting 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 ting. And then he goes, "Scratch that. We're being shot at." It's like oh shit. It's like, and so going into the embassy, like we got shot at, and I was like, okay, great. It's like okay, every day for
This
the next
is
5 months, it's like I'm gonna be shot at, and then I get to the embassy, and it's like I'm there for 5 months, and
chill.
there's only ever 3 IDF alarms, and then I get sent back to some weird base for a couple of days, and there's some small arms fired there, but it was like still not near me. It was in the
Controlled.
distance, yeah. So, but like day one going in, like
That's nerve
by
wracking because
myself,
it sets a standard,
it's
right? You're
like
like
it's
every
like
day I'm gonna be
yeah,
fucking. I'm
it's
gonna
like
die.
it's
I'm
like
dead.
okay, I'm in a war zone.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in the heart of one of the most dangerous countries in the world, and we're at war. It's like okay, cool, got it. Love you, mom.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember thinking that. I think I went with Minger. I think we were sent out to Iraq together, and I remember being on the C-130, and we were the only ones that I remember being speaking English. Like there were Swedes, there were Italians, there were Canadians. I don't know what they speak,
The French or English.
but like, yeah, I remember like we were, and yeah, I won't. The whole weapon condition thing. I'm not going to expose myself legally, but that is subjective depending on what the hell's happening, right? Like, it's like, well, you can only be conditioned for unless you're fired upon. And then you hear a car bomb go off, and then you hear and you're reading about shit, and you're like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'll go home and take a court martial. Like that, we joked about that and talked about it. We're like,
Yeah.
if we go, I would be lucky to get a fucking court martial. If I,
Mhm.
as long as I make it the fuck out of this country, I'll take a court martial. I don't care. Like,
I was conditioned for every time I traveled outside of the embassy in Iraq. Like Colin and I, well, this is crazy.
I don't. Yeah, I was not.
This is so
I was not always conditioned for. Like,
this is
yeah.
crazy. Colin and I, we took a like public transportation bus from the embassy. We went
And what's conditioned for?
condition 4 means you've got a freaking
Loaded mag in the gun,
you got a
but
bullet in
bolts
the
forward.
chamber.
No,
That's not what's
that's no. Condition 4 is bolts forward, no round in the chamber, safety on.
so what is bullet in
Condition
the chamber?
3 is bullet in the chamber, safety on.
What's condition 2?
I don't know that.
What's condition 1?
Condition 1 is bullet in the chamber, on fire. Right? You're ready. Like condition 1 is I am about to send rounds downrange.
Fuck, I'm a
Wait,
bad
wait,
devil.
wait, wait. But let's
I'm
figure
a
this out real
bad
quick.
devil.
Let's figure this
Let's
out.
not figure it out. Let's just say, for what it's worth,
Where were your rounds at?
when I was flying by myself in Baghdad,
Your condition don't say condition 1 because it's don't say that. Even if
don't
that's
know.
true, it's not true.
hypothetically, my rifle was unsafe,
Yep.
but I had a
And
bullet.
there was you what you meant to say is you didn't have a bullet in the chamber
Hypothetically, I did.
unless someone commanded you to have one.
Hypothetically, I did.
Right.
So, anyways, Colin and I, we left
It's
the
a big
embassy,
fucking deal.
no weapons. We left the embassy with no weapons. Took public transportation to get to the former palace of Saddam Hussein
Hmm.
in the heart, like downtown Baghdad. It's like no form of defense. Like just left the embassy.
Only comedy and English.
Then like went to the palace where Saddam Hussein was, and like just like took ourselves on a private tour. Like went into the palace, had a look around. You go into the palace, and it's like from the exterior, it looks like a dilapidated palace. You go inside, and it's all rubble, or it was at the time in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the time. It was all rubble. And then, like, you look up at the ceiling of the palace, and there's 3 holes in the ceiling, huge holes. The holes were easily like 6 feet in diameter each, where the 3 JDAM missiles tore through the ceiling and just leveled the interior of the palace and killed everyone in there. But it was like, we just left, like, Colin caught wind that, like, that was a possibility. Like, we could leave the embassy and like take public transportation and go and see this
You just
historic
did it.
site. And it's like we just did it. It was definitely not part of our mission. It's like, and
How long were you guys there for? Just like a day, like 4
yeah,
hours, couple hours.
it was like a day trip. It's like we left early, went. We weren't at the palace for more than an hour. It was like just went. And the army had recently moved in and like taken control of the palace. And previously, like the rubbled palace was supposedly occupied by a lot of like homeless people. And so the army came in, cleared everyone out of the palace, and they were like trying to remove the rubble and they were going to turn it into a FOB.
Hmm.
Command center.
Forward operating base.
A forward operating base. As compared to a backwards
Cob.
operating base. It's corn.
But it's a base.
It's wild. It's wild, man.
I watched Black Hawk Down. I watched it before deployment, and then I watched it after. And Al Assad is in Black Hawk Down.
Is it?
Yeah, but it was earlier, and it was like build up, and so you actually get to see some of the hangars and stuff, and they like as they were in their prime. There were swimming pools. Al Assad was the place to be.
Al Jaber was like that too at one point.
Yeah,
It was like when we were. It's like when we were there in Kuwait. It's like the swimming pools were still there, but
just empty.
they were empty,
Yeah.
cracked. It's like it
Sand
used to
in
be,
them. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be like a prominent base.
And it was the same in Al Assad. It was like there was these massive swimming pools, just pallets
Yeah.
thrown in them.
Sure.
And then like the hangars were repurposed, like the interior airplane hangars were repurposed into the little double story quadcon like like living spaces. So there was like 2 stories, and you had like little quadcon building where you open the door and it's like 6 square feet or 8 square feet of whatever. I don't know, 16 square feet, whatever it was.
Dog, your square
My
footage.
square footage is not the same as my. But yeah, it was like it was all repurposed. And it was blown to hell. Our chow hall had a hole in the roof. Our gym had a hole in the roof until they built like a temporary structure. Like you could see the rebar where the fucking bomb came down, just blew the shit out of the top of the building, and then they repurpose it, and I don't want to go back, man. It was brutal.
Your next duty station is Kyiv.
Can you imagine you wake up and you're back and you're like,
I could. That'd be sad, but I could imagine it.
but if you did that, you would just pick up the same storyline, right? You'd be like, well, I'm going to fucking nick some liquor from the night shift. I'm going with Colin in 2 weeks to the palace, and that's what you do, right? I think about that. I'm like, if I wake up someday and I'm back in Al Assad, I will have a pistol and a gun. I'll have a M4 and just do my thing. It's like, what else can you do?
Captain Kelly.
Oh God.
Oh, Captain Kelly, if you're listening to this, Rory Kelly, I got your number, bitch. Right. I got your number. He
was visibly scared when he came, which is fair enough. It's not to his fault, but he was scared the first time I went with him to get chow.
Did he come to Al Assad?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And he was like we took IDF while we were walking back, and I was like, we were both conditioned for in carrying chow, and he kept walking, and I was like, no, I was like, dude, we need to fucking run. That's what I said to him. I was like, dude, we need to fucking run. I was a captain in the Marine Corps. So, I'm a sergeant.
Yeah.
That's like fucking not good to go.
Yep.
I was like, dude, we need to fucking run. And we did. We sprinted to like the HESCO barriers that were around our. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Dude, we gotta fucking go.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Captain Kelly, if you're watching.
Oh yeah. A boonie cover. This is obviously not a boonie cover, but it's similar shape. Like, it's a lot like a boonie cover.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Kelly. My boonie cover was like,
it was probably hideous.
It was huge. I wore an extra large boonie cover because I wanted to be able to put it on and not mess up my perfectly, like, I had all that suavecito in my hair, all that pomade. All that pomade, I didn't want it to fuck up my hair, so I wore an extra large boonie cover. And one day, he was like, he said something, he was like, oh yeah, and Wesson, lose the fucking bonnet.
He was a cool dude.
He was.
I like Captain
considered. Like all the captains we could have been. Dealt.
He was a cool dude. I knew him since he was a butter bar. Did you know him when he was a second lieutenant? Mm-hmm. He was a cool dude then, and like he progressed. He handled his shit.
A little squirmy,
little bit college graduate, but aren't we all? You know, and he was a cool dude though.
Lose the bonnet.
That's funny.
Cracked me up.
But he had a sense of humor about him.
So
where some of them didn't. Some officers, no sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. You're enlisted. I'm an officer. And it's like, he never did that. I really believe he had like a sense of humor about it. He was like, all right, but I know you have valuable information. We're team members. Like, I respected that.
There was, this is unrelated, but this is going back to what made me think of this was you telling me what you experienced when Kelly came out to Al Assad.
Dude, we gotta go. We need fucking pieced up right now, dude.
So, when I was at the embassy in Baghdad, there was an IDF alarm one day that went off, and I was outside, and it's like I sprinted to cover. Like I just ran to the nearest building, and then got inside the building, and it's like, whatever. Took over. I
You
felt
just wait until
felt
the
safe.
yeah.
The second time a IDF alarm went off, it was during the middle of my sort of like this spiritual situation I was in, where so uh, for whatever fuck that phone. For whatever it's worth, there was a point in time where I was in Baghdad Embassy doing my spiritual thing. For the first time in my life, I would go a week at a time, in my opinion, like to the best of my knowledge, without sinning. For whatever that's worth. Like I would look at women and I wouldn't lust whatsoever. It's like
You just wish them well.
I the Lord be with you. Peace be with you. I was like, I would like, I would see women. I wouldn't. There's zero lust whatsoever. I would go to the cafeteria. It's like no gluttony whatsoever. It's like I would just eat like I was
6 apples, 12 chickens,
I was actively
and 4
fasting.
things of Apple Jacks.
I was actively fasting. So I did 40 plus days when I was there, where all I had for 40 days straight was a scoop of peanut butter and a small, like 8 ounces of milk. 40 days. Scoop of peanut butter, 8 ounces of milk. Once a day. It was like I lost 15 pounds during that period. It's like I was on a spiritual thing, and it was the first time in my life where it's like I would reflect every day. I would sit and I'd meditate and I'd pray and I I would think and I would sing songs of praise and I would read scripture, and it's like I would reflect on my day, and it's like I can confidently say, to the best of my knowledge, with the exception of like maybe the ego associated with this thought process, is like I don't think I committed a sin today. And I'm going to try my best not to commit a sin tomorrow. And I would go 4 days without committing a sin. And then I would lust or something. And I'd be like, okay. I was like, I know what I did wrong there. I'm going to reset.
Go to the janitor's office, jack off real quick, and come back.
It's like I would just be walking down the hall, minding my own business, and then somebody would be waving a mop. And I'd be like, oh, that mop reminds me of Angelina Jolie. It's like, let's spiral out of control. So, anyways,
And then the premeditated sin comes in because you reach in your cargo pocket and you've got fucking peanut butter on demand. This peanut butter packets. Oh god, I am a sinner. I knew I'd do this.
I'm in the midst of this sort of spiritual
She's
thing.
married and divorced, by the way.
I'm in the midst of this sort of spiritual thing that I'm going through. I'm not going to put a name on it.
Sure, that's better.
And the second IDF alarm event takes place, and I'm outside whenever it does. And everybody sprints for cover. Everybody in sight, except for me. I'm like 100 yards from the nearest cover, and I just walk casually. And like in my mind, I'm completely confident because my thought process is that before I was born, my days were numbered. It's like that's all I'm thinking about. It's like if I'm to die, I'm to die. And if it's today, it's today. But whether or not I sprint or I walk, it's already written. And everybody is taking off for cover. And I'm just casually walking. And I just casually stroll towards it. And I wasn't even seeking cover. It's like the IDF alarm just went as I'm moving from one building to another. And I happen
You're
to be
just
in between the two.
accepting that
And it's like if
full
I'm
acceptance.
it's like if it's written. It's like my days were numbered before I was even conceived. And I don't think that's good. I don't like, in hindsight, I should
that
have
could
ran
be
for cover
partially foolish.
like everyone else. It was in my opinion, it's completely foolish. But the thought, like, I've I've never experienced anything like that. And that was like, so I had that was a very unique spiritual experience, that like time period in my life, and it was followed by one of the darkest periods in my life, because
When we got back,
and I don't know if you remember what I was like when we came back, but it was It
was
was
rough.
dark. Like
Yeah,
the sleep paralysis.
I know.
I'm sure we talked about that. It was like
Yeah,
every single night I would go to bed and I would be paralyzed, and I would see these crazy demonic figures standing in the corner of the room, and it's like I'm scared to death, but I can't move. I can't like that was a dark, and that sleep paralysis led to something similar to insomnia, which led to me being exhausted and cranky every day, which just led to a complete decline in like my quality of life. And it was arguably the darkest period. Like it was post divorce, darkest period in my life, no doubt.
yeah,
Following what was arguably the most like spiritually involved period of my life. And I've not experienced anything like that since then.
I mean, it was similar for me. Like after deployment, for like 9 months, I would wake up and I couldn't breathe, and my jaw would be like locked. Like it's just like my body. I wasn't even doing it. It's just like my body's like, you're fucking done, bro. Like you're not going anywhere. You're not moving. You're not breathing. You're not doing shit. Like you're just gonna lay here
Your
and
body
fucking
was
chill.
your body was right, bro.
Yeah,
Look at you now,
I know.
loser.
No, but it's like eventually, as time went on, it just dissipated. It just dissipated, and it's like I sleep well now. I haven't. Nothing has interrupted my sleep in 5 years. My dad passed away last year. Nothing interrupted my sleep. It's
What's her
like,
name?
is she single? No, but it's like it's real. Like that really was a progression for me. But it was similar after coming back. It was rough. You would think it would be all joyous. You'd think it'd be, oh, I'm good, I'm good, and it's like, yo, now it's fucking hard. When I was deployed, was like the simplest time in my life. Once you get past all the fear and the fear of death and stuff, it's like this is simple. Like I just listen to Whitechapel, and I get a tan, and we get shot at, and I didn't die. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do the same fucking thing. I'm gonna listen to Whitechapel. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna work out, not die, and get a tan. And like that's what it was. That's what it was. And then you get back, and you're like, I almost fucking died, man. Every fucking day for 7 months. I didn't get a fucking day off for 7 months. We're 12, 14 hours a day for 7 months, and almost died every single day. And and then you're like, I have to conform to society. I have to figure out my future. I have to, like, holy shit. I have to figure out insurance for a fucking car. Like, what? It's very different. It's very different.
Uh oh. Phone on the floor.
No.
She's talking.
Is there any other thoughts you have on should you join the Marine Corps?
Absolutely.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely not. You want to wrap this pupper?
I gotta be up at 5.
If you're
I
listening
gotta
to
fly out at
this,
5. It's 11.
you're a dumb
Hell
motherfucker.
yeah, brother.
You make bad decisions. But make bad decisions next week, because we got a new episode coming out.
Buy our merch. The t-shirt, right? T-shirts. We got t-shirts in.
We out.
We're out.
Deuces, douches.